Dan Orlovsky joins us right now. So, Dan, I'm just going to start here because when this news broke yesterday from Adam Schefter, you quote tweeted it something along the lines of, "This is great news for Mac Jones." So, in the simplest terms, let's start there.
Yeah, well, first, I was wrong. It's not great. It's perfect for Mac. Absolutely perfect. This was the hope, the ideal situation for Mac. I think, number one, Mac is one of those players that he really needs to be coached very hard. Thumb down, high level of demand, almost an obsession with it. Bill O'Brien is going to bring that. So that's the perfect situation when it comes to the style of coaching. Second thing, a big part of Bill's offense is the vertical pass game. And I don't mean like 60-yard launches downfield. I mean the 15, 20, 25-yard throws, the chunk throws, the three-leveled throws. Mac thrives in that stuff. He wants that stuff. He's got great feel for those. Big part of Bill O'Brien's offense. Third, Bill has always given his quarterbacks great autonomy at the line of scrimmage, control, get us in and out of the right plays. These looks versus these fronts, we want this. Control the line of scrimmage, change protection, get us to certain game plan specific plays. Mac obviously thrives in that, has the great intelligence for that. So when it comes to, and this is what I always say, like we should never have the conversation of is it a good fit? It's the NFL. Does this allow a player to thrive? The absolute answer to that question is absolutely yes.
So, Dan, have you started looking for hobbies? Because you spent a lot of time last season picking apart Matt Patricia's offense. I feel like every week we got videos from you. How are you going to fill all those hours now moving forward?
Don't worry, there's 31 other teams. No, I think what I'll look forward to is, doing good videos and uplifting videos and positive videos. I do, trust me, I like doing those way more than the negative ones.
So, Dan, where were you on Mac since we only got to know so many people's opinion on Mac as so negative or frustrated last season? It's been a while. Where were you on Mac before, we'll call it, the Patricia experiment, and how long do you think it takes Billy O'Brien to undo what happened to him last season?
Mac will play very good football early on next season. Very good football. I've been high on Mac Jones since I called some of his games at Alabama. Truthfully, when I called games at Alabama, I did not feel he was a first-round pick because I was like, we're in this era of run-around, freakazoid athletes at quarterback. Then I studied Mac and saw all the levels of talent he had or traits that he had that were perfect for ideal quarterback play as long as he was in the perfect system. And then you watched him play and his rookie year, and I'm like, man, this kid can play. You could win a ton of football games with him. So I think Mac has got the opportunity to be very good starting quarterback in the NFL for a long time.
Dan, going back to something you said just a few minutes ago, you said that one thing in Bill O'Brien's system that's going to play really strongly to Mac is these vertical throws, these chunk throws. Can you just explain how that's going to be different than what we saw at the beginning of the 22 season in terms of, just chucking it 50-50 ball to Devontae Parker going up vertically?
That's a great question. So there's two ways to create chunk throws in the NFL, really at any level of football, but obviously at the highest level, there's two ways. One, the play action pass. There's no way that you can create 15, 20, 25-yard throws downfield without displacing people in the defense. The only way to do that is with play action, multiple forms of play action, whether there's vertical stretch play actions or horizontal stretch play actions. Second way you do it is you have a freak. You have a Devontae Adams. You have a Justin. Those guys where you could sit there and go, hey, you go out there and we're just going to throw you these routes and you win. Now, the Patriots do not have anybody remotely close to that. So the way you do that is living in that play action world. And again, there's so many different forms of play action. There's bootlegs and there's play actions. And I think that because of the personnel that they have, because of the style that Bill likes to play, because of the skill set that Mac has, that's why you'll get some of those play actions more so than, hey, drop back and we're just going to throw a go route to a receiver that has no chance to win.
A lot of Patriots fans immediately thought of Bill O'Brien's first tenure in New England and said, 2 tight ends and Gronk. Who are some of the and obviously they don't have a Gronk or a Hernandez on the roster right now, but who are some of the other guys on the offense, personnel-wise, who are going to benefit and see their play improve and their production improve under Bill O'Brien?
Yeah, I think that Bill's going to be smart enough to – now, I don't know exactly where they sit. I'm still in the 2022 season with some of their free agents as we transition to the offseason. But I would imagine he's going to have a great feel for Jakobi's skill set. Okay, Jakobi, what are we going to ask you to do? I would imagine he's going to have a very good understanding of who Thornton is and some of the things that they'll ask him to do, quote-unquote, lifting off coverage. He's not a guy that you're going to ask to be that one-on-one route runner. I think they need to add to that tight end room. Both of those players came in with a lot of expectation. You can make the case that neither of them have met it. And I don't know what the financial ramifications. I'll tell you what they need, okay? Like more so than is Kendrick Bourne going to be able to elevate. There's a sample size enough for most of these guys to know who they are. I said this yesterday in NFL Live. They still need two things. They need a guy on the outside that is a one-on-one route runner. You know, Jakobi is really more so a one-on-one route runner from the inside. They're going to need a guy that can consistently win on the outside in one-on-one situations. Whether you want the guy that is the big-bodied receiver that has great control, a DeAndre Hopkins, or you want the person that is a route, a technician with his route running. But I still think that is something that this offense is going to have to address to really play the style that they want.
Dan Orlovsky of ESPN joins us on the Harbor One hotline. Dan, you just answered the question I wanted to ask you, as in what do you think the Patriots' next biggest need is? So I'm just going to go slightly off Pat's back to something I heard you say Monday, and I never miss Get Up on Mondays because the crew is awesome, especially when you guys review all the it's awesome. The best football show on TV. So
thank you.
Greeny set you up as only Greeny does, and then you answered with Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Do you? And you called him Derek Jeter as well, which I thought was actually a pretty salient comment. Do you really believe he's now going to become the standard in the NFL, that it's not going to be, hey, try to make all these improvisational plays like a Mahomes or an Allen can and just be so fundamentally perfect? Because what he did last Sunday is about as impressive as I've seen a quarterback do on the road in years.
I do, yes, because Patrick is such an outlier. And people, I've had pushback to that comment, and, people, we live in this world where if you say something, they twist it into one thing, whatever. So this is why everything that Joe does, you can teach to a young player and have him work at it and develop it and make it a staple and or foundational part of his game. The rhythm of his feet, how great his pocket movement is without compromising the mechanics, the ball placement, the touch on the throws, how quickly he can understand what the defense is doing, then the option is this. Those are all things that Patrick does stuff you can't nor should want to teach a kid. Hey, pump fake a flat route with your feet going all the way to the left and then sidearm a slant in behind two defenders. Yeah, great. You guys go teach that. Let me know how business goes for you as a quarterback treater. So, the thing, and that's why I said Joe's the best quarterback, because he's quarterbacking in the ways that we can understand. He's quarterbacking the best. He does stuff that Patrick doesn't do. Now, Patrick's the best player, and everyone's like, how can you say he's the best? Because Patrick's the best player because he has stuff that is uncoachable. But when it comes to the traditional or even like the right now way that we would coach a kid and develop a kid, you're not doing it with the stuff that Patrick does because you're not going to be able to. That's why Joe is quarterbacking the best. But Patrick is still the best player. If I had both of them in the draft, I'm taking Patrick at 100 out of 100 times. I don't prefer either or because they're both freaks.
Sorry about that. We're talking to Dan Orlovsky from ESPN. Dan, at the beginning of our conversation, you said this is a perfect choice with Bill O'Brien being paired with Mac Jones. Is it fair then to say, barring injury or something awful like that the Patriots can make a good judgment off of next year on whether or not this is going to be their franchise quarterback or that Mac Jones should get a second contract with the Patriots?
Yeah, I think that's fair as long as there are some improvements to the roster talent-wise on offense. Again, I still think you want a bona fide receiver or pass-catching threat. Whether we deem that a Michael Mayer from Notre Dame as a tight end or a Jordan Addison out of USC, or even a free. I think if you can add like one real pass catching person to that offense, yes, then I think you sit there, because listen, Mac is going to attack this offseason, and he is intellectually capable of handling this offense. And could you imagine being Mac Jones and getting that tweet or whatever, being like, yo, from what I experienced my rookie year to last year, now I get to my assumption is Mac is like, I want the offseason to start right now today, because it's perfect for him. And yeah, I think it's fair to say next year you're going to have the opportunity to make a great assessment. And if I was a betting man, I would bet a lot of money that Mac Jones is going to look very much so like the guy that they expected him to coming off of his rookie season.
As they seek offensive playmakers, what would your thoughts be on one they have in-house to some degree, named Marcus Jones, the rookie punt returner who had touchdowns in all three phases, had a screen pass that he took to the house from about 50 yards. What about him as a guy that could fill that screen, get open quick, inside role playmaker that can make life easy on a quarterback?
Yeah, talented player. And this is another example. Bill has always been around places where it's like, hey, who's our best players? I don't care what their position is on the roster. Who's our best players? How do we get them the football? So, you know, a player that in this era, Bill's going to spread stuff out a little bit. He's going to get into condensed formations. There's going to be a lot of shifts and motions in an era where you can utilize that stuff to help maybe players that don't have a dominant skill set with winning one-on-one coverage, but he's a guy that how many different ways can we get him the ball type of thing? Maybe a little bit lesser Tony Pollard, so to speak. He's definitely a guy you sit there and so he's got some game-changing talents to him.
Dan, I was going to try to take you to task for your tweet 2 weeks ago about putting cucumbers in tacos, but I'll stay on the Patriots.
There's a story behind that. So.
We'll get that out next week. The player not named Mac Jones, you think benefits most on the Patriots offense from Bill O'Brien coming to town and taking over the offense would be who?
Jakobi Meyers. Yeah, Jakobi. You know, Jakobi is Bill has always had a guy that can work the middle of the field. The way that he formation stuff creates leverages for guys and allows their skill set to then take over rather than, hey, you got to go do it yourself. Jacoby's a guy that you're looking at, man, he could push 100 catches next year.
So real quick, Patriots, should they give him that $12 million a year?
I think so. I think he's worth that. Yes, I think the quarterback. He's the only guy the quarterback trusts and has the same type of feel with. Yes.
All right, Dan Orlovsky of ESPN. He joins us every Wednesday. We love having him on, even though he seems to put cucumbers in tacos, which sounds really gross. But thank you so much, Dan.
It was delicious. See you next week.
All right, thank you.